What's going on, guys? My name is Christopher and welcome to It's Complicated, the show where I talk about and showcase wristwatches. So if you love watches like I do, you're going to want to subscribe to the show. Today, I'm going to be telling you guys why I bought my first Rolex, what it means to me, and why I still love it to this very day. Here we go. All right, so how did I get into this hobby and why did I buy my first Rolex? Why did I choose the Rolex I chose, which is a 16233 two-tone Datejust. I love the two-tone, okay? When I was a kid, my grandfather used to bring home these incredible fakes, and my dad owned a genuine Rolex Datejust, similar to this, but it was the older reference number with the acrylic crystal, etc. And these fakes were good. I mean, he must have been paying decent buck for these fakes back then, because back then, you know, the big tell was, oh, if it ticks, it's fake. But he would get ones with like actual movements in them and yada yada yada, and then I'd wear them around to high school or whatever, you know. It was fun. I went through a fake Ferrari, which I believe was a Panerai, although I've never been able to find the real reference number. My buddy Joel still has that watch. A fake Patek Philippe, which Joel also still has. I think it was a quartz, and we can't get the back off of that case. So I don't know what's going on there. I had some kind of watch that wasn't a fake. It was a genuine something. It was a manual wind. I'm not sure what it was. Who knows what the hell happened to it. I had a Swiss Army watch that I got from my dad's Marlboro fucking points when I was a kid. And then I had a really cool Rolex day date fake. And it was awesome. Like the plating never wore off. Everything worked exactly the way it was supposed to. And I remember one time my dad and I sitting on our front porch and we were comparing the two, like his Datejust and the president. Obviously, the president didn't have the weight that gold should have, but they were so close, and that fake was so good. I'm sure, I mean, obviously it wasn't real gold, and if you took the back off, of course, it was a fake. There's no way it was real, but we did have that moment. It's like, man, like, you could really fool someone with this fake. So that's kind of how I got into the hobby. And then I just had some Citizens quartz way back. I mean, way back. I'm talking probably 10 years ago I bought that watch. I think I picked it up for like 60 bucks inside of Macy's on sale or something. I wore that for a long time. Changed the battery on it a few times. Maybe I wore it 8 years. Then I had a little more money to throw around and I wanted to get a cool watch. And I was like, all right, let's go get a cool watch. So I went to fucking K Jewelers and paid fucking retail on a Citizen Eco Drive gold-plated chronograph. I kind of liked it at first. It had good weight to it. I'm trying to find a picture and put it up there of exactly which one I'm talking about. You know, I did negotiate the price on that Citizen I bought, but I still probably overpaid. I think I paid like 180 bucks for it, and it would soon be flipped on eBay for about 70, if I'm not mistaken. You know, I'd mess with the chronograph and check it out or whatever, but shortly after buying it, I just started to hate it. Now, you could run the chronograph, but it would only time, I believe it timed 12 hours, and then the chronograph would actually stop. The chronograph was fine, it worked, you know, but every time I looked at it, that fucking chronograph secondhand was always a little off-centered, and it drove me insane. And then wearing it to bartend and stuff, the plating on the back, this part of the watch from all the, you know, bar diving it was doing was just mangled. And I looked at it one day and I was like, this is horrible. I hate it. I really started to hate that watch. And I was like, I'm going to get a good fucking watch. I'm going to get a real fucking watch. You go back 20 years in 1998, my dad still had that Rolex Datejust, but my dad wasn't the greatest human being that ever existed, and he ended up pawning that fucking thing. Who knows what he pawned it for? And sometimes I think about it, I'm like, man, if there was internet like there is now and smartphones and everything, he could have went on Craigslist and said, meet me on this fucking bench and I'll sell you the watch for $2,000 or whatever. My aunt bought it for his dad, so my grandfather, in 1970. So it would be really cool to still have that watch. So when I started thinking about buying a watch, I'm like, man, I should get one just like my dad had, because I was kind of supposed to get it anyways, and it kind of felt like I was gonna right some wrong, and I love watches. So then I had to ask myself some hard questions, like, what does a Rolex cost? What's a reference number? And then down the rabbit hole I went, man, you know, and I searched and I searched and I looked and I looked, and I paid just a cunt hair over $3,000 for this reference number 16233. It's got the sapphire crystal in it. It's got Rolex 3135 caliber movement inside, and I think it's an absolute fucking beauty. And every time I don't wear it for a while, I put it back on and I'm like, man, like this watch is killer. It's a little retro. It has that two-tone 80s thing going on, and I really like it. The guy in American Psycho wore a date just similar to this. Again, older reference number, and then he had the tapestry dial, which I actually, going back, I might have bought the tapestry dial older reference number, knowing what I know about watches now. But man, I love this watch. I love the gold hands and the fluted bezel. I love the two-tone bracelet, and it's got some stretch. You know, I mean, this is a 1998 U serial number. So this is a 20-year-old watch, and somebody really wore this for a long time. Because of the Rolex in-house founded 18 karat gold, which does match this gold, by the way, but because of that, this watch gets so much more wrist time in the summer than it does in the winter. And that's really the story of how and why I bought my first Rolex, what it means to me. Like I said, kind of righting that wrong from the old man pawning the other one. Would have been really cool. I mean, that would be close to 50 years old, and it would have been really cool to check that out and see the patina and all that other stuff. And I remember that Rolex caused a lot of stress between him and my mom when we were back in Akron, and that was a big deal. When that thing needed a service, I remember one time the stem fell out. It was a big deal. You know, it was a big extra expense, and there was only one AD locally, right in this little shopping center, this little hole in the wall place, and he'd have to take it there and wait and send it, and you know, the whole 9 yards. And that's really the story. You know, I went from having great fakes when I was a kid and just appreciating mechanical watches in general. Then I had some quartz pieces, and I kind of got out of the whole mechanical thing and kind of said the hell with mechanical. Then I got that Citizen, and then I got the gold-plated Citizen chronograph. And I just remember I learned to hate that watch over time, and I couldn't wait to get rid of it and get a real watch. And this is it, the first real watch. I still love it. Yeah, 36 mil. Yeah, like I said, a little retro, but this watch wears great. I got smaller wrists, 7 inches. So they're not toothpick wrists, but they can rock the 36 mil. And at the end of the day, this is a fucking Rolex. And that wraps it up for another episode of It's Complicated. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you guys next time on another episode of It's Complicated.